Alright, so today I want to talk about one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me in my whole life. Alright, one of the scariest parts in my life was when I was 9 years old, and something that drastically changed my life forever. Something I never really talk about on this channel, but when I was 9 years old, my dad died. But anyways, I don't really want to get into that on this video. Anyways, I want to talk about how that affected my life and where that has brought me to today. Here, when my dad died, I mean, it totally shook my whole reality. It made me go from somewhat of a normal life to just this scared life. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was in this point where I couldn't let any of my family members out of my sight without knowing exactly where they were going and exactly when they would be home. But anyways, like I said, that is not what this video is about. This video is about where I have come from that and where that has brought me to. So one thing that has probably scared me the most out of my life, even more than losing a family member, was making the choice to start my own business. And I've had many of you guys in this YouTube community ask me specifically about the transition from working for someone to going full-time as a business owner. That's one of the scariest things that you can ever do. I remember for me, one thing that really got me into doing it was really coping with the fear that I had since I was a child. So this fear has impacted me in so many different ways, and I came to a point where, am I going to let this fear control me, or am I going to master this fear and allow it to create something great in me? So the thing I feared the most was not knowing what was going to happen. Worry, anxiety, I struggled so much with these things. But you come to a point where, or are you going to let the fear control you, or are you going to control the fear? Are you going to control where your life is going, or are you going to let something that has happened in the past control you? And that's a question that we all got to ask ourselves. I can't answer that question for you guys. That's only something that you can answer for yourself. I remember the first business seminar we went to. This was even before I started my business, and the lady speaking, she said to us, she said, the root of all fear is a lack of forgiveness. And for me, that just struck me really hard, and I got to thinking that I've struggled with this anxiety my whole life, but why? Why have I struggled with this anxiety? And I really looked back to what was the first time when I felt this anxiety, this anxious moments. And what I realized was that was when my dad died. Subconsciously, have pinned this on my dad my entire life, that he somehow instilled this sense of anxiety into my life. He didn't mean to. He made his own choices in life. He didn't mean to affect me in any way. Nothing that I did controlled what he did, and nothing he does controls me anymore. So yeah, so it came to a point where I needed to look into my heart and find out why I had this anxiety, why I had this fear, who I wasn't forgiving. And what I realized was I had never forgiven my dad for instilling that into my life. And I know that he didn't mean to, it wasn't his fault at all, but I took that upon myself. And that's what happens, guys. When we fear something, we have taken something on that someone has spoken over us or said to us. We've taken that on, and we've worn that our whole life. And my question for you guys is, are you going to allow other people to control your life, or are you going to control your own? Contemplating starting this business, a lot of people thought I was nuts, especially when I made the choice to start this business. But see, it was interesting. Something happened in my head was when I finally forgave and got rid of that fear, I was able to think more clearly, and I was able to establish what I wanted for my family and my life going forward, and not be controlled by this fear, this anxiety of not knowing what was going to happen. I felt like I had to stick with a certain career path and do a certain thing because that's what you needed to do to make money, and that's what you needed to provide. But once I got rid of that fear of anxiety and totally washed that away from my life, I was able to think more clearly. So how do you go from full-time employment to self-employment? There's really no easy answer for that. But the only answer relies with you. Is what do you fear and what's holding you back, and are you going to make that change? Because if you really want this, you're the only one that can make that choice. So there's no easy answer for this. It's going to be hard. It's going to be the scariest thing you've ever done, but you got to make the choice to do it. So I guess the question I have for you is, do you really want to do it?